Like at this point, y'all, we've turned into the pixies. We are the pixies. The world is turning into the pixies. Hey guys, it's your girl Cameron and I'm back at it again with another video. And today we are going to be doing a social commentary on why the world turned gray. You might be thinking, what exactly do I mean by this and where is this video headed? How much of our logo design, fashion design, and architectural design has become mute, desolate, and void of color? And increasingly as futurism takes hold, there's less and less life in color in our art and what surrounds us. Less individuality and more uniformity. Whether that's logos being flattened, gray floors being imposed over unique tile. And as someone who is so interested in media and art, I want to talk about how this is really permeated through all aspects of life and what that really says about how we're interacting with the world around us. I find this very, very fascinating. And I encourage you to stick around because I think this is going to be a very eye-opening and unique conversation if you've never thought of this before. So comment down below. Have you noticed that overall of design, it's a lot grayer, it's a little more desolate, and I really want to unpack the bigger picture here. And hit that subscribe button if you'd like to see more commentary content just like this video. And without further ado, let's just get straight into it. What happened to color? Recently, we have seen several examples of the world losing color one factor at a time. And the inspo for this video, primarily, is that recently Disney Plus changed their logo from this to this. What? And the new logo hosts a sea green, slight fade gradient and removed the gradient in the arch. And some users pointed out that these changes create a dull effect to a logo that's supposed to be lively. It's removing life from the existing logo. Especially for a company like Disney, for example, that has always represented vibrancy. An ex-user said, quote, "Lifeless color got rid of the pretty fade in the curve. Graphic design is dead." And even though there were a lot of people in the comments saying it's not that big of a deal, those who study design have expressed rebelling against these new, seemingly minor shifts in design patterns because minor shifts become major over time. This theme of life, imagery, pictorial elements, color being stripped from a lot of design, specifically in the logo world. So to set the stage for this, Science Museum, via the letter of Northeastern University Dean Dan Cohen, wrote an article talking about how objects are legitimately getting grayer and more square as time goes on. So this museum holds objects from household items to technological items and a spectrum of its advancements. So they took pictures of over 7,000 items and they found that the colors changed and lessened over time. Older objects had more colors and earth tones, right? From natural materials like leather, wood, and to metal. And they found that, quote, "Our preliminary analysis suggests that everyday objects may have become a little grayer and a little squarer over time." The museum concludes, "The world is literally getting less colorful thanks to technology and standardization." And some of these objects that they observed, mainly phones, have not only changed in appearance over time, but absolutely changed the way that we connect and operate with one another. Being one of the first generations to really experience the digital age head on, we only often think about the fun memes, videos, and platforms that we have access to without really evaluating the risk that the internet brings. And it's the danger of our personal information being accessible and publicized for data brokers to steal. Have you ever searched your name on the internet? Because I did, and I was alarmed and immediately concerned about how exposed and readily available my information is for sale. And that's why I've been using Aura, which is the sponsor of today's video. And Aura shows me which data brokers are selling my information and automatically submits opt-out requests for me. Data brokers sell your info to scammers, spammers, and people who want to target you. Yes, you. Anything from your full name to the address where you lay your head every night, health records, and information on your relatives. It is all accessible. And Aura helps clean up my information, which reduces the amount of spam that I receive, and I'm protected from hackers who use this information to help access my social media accounts, as well as my bank accounts and other sensitive information. And you may not have seen this, but AT&T uncovered that 73 million customer records, both existing and former customers, were released on the dark web. And I've been an AT&T girly since I've had a phone. So this was personally alarming to me. And AT&T also recommended that those affected need to use strong passwords, monitor account activity, and consider credit freezes or fraud alerts from credit bureaus. Well, Aura does all of this for me. I don't even have to think twice about it. And again, it's a one-stop shop for everything I need cybersecurity wise. And my favorite part is that I don't need to download several different apps just because a company could not keep my information and data safe. I value my privacy and I really value yours as well. So go to aura.com/CameronSuzanne to start your 2-week free trial, and it is also linked in the description box below. Thank you to Aura for sponsoring this video, and we are going to get right back into the commentary. So when we see that items from cars to domestic interiors, I mean, have you seen the qualms with the white walls and gray wood plastered all over social media? Like, for example, I'm from Detroit, and particularly the architecture within older Detroit homes hosts these really cute, quite unique pink bathroom tile, unique bathroom layout. And the flippers come in, gut the house, and make the historical interior for a grayer alternative. Gray counters, gray wood flooring, white walls, silver appliances, removal of tiles, and removal of any elements that scream color or creativity. And actually, a guy that I know who I went to school with, he's very passionate about keeping the pink tiles. He said, quote, "Allah knows what you did. Allah knows you replaced that pink Detroit bathroom with big gray tile, you disgusting, vile creature." Because really though, so flippers are coming into these houses, these Detroit homes, taking the fun tiles and are graying it up. You've seen it. From that capacity, you even see less and less decorative items, daring furniture, and patterns, which have collectively become less of the norm. And this gray theory is further proven in fashion. There was a picture of two men hosting these classic late 80s and early 90s colorful puffer jackets. You've seen them, and this went kind of viral on Twitter because a user pointed out saying, quote, "The world in the 90s was so colorful and bright, and everything now is minimalist, black, or gray." And we see people like Kanye West, for example, leading futuristic trends in fashion with his brand Yeezy. Him claiming a revolution of sorts. That is the fashion of the future, according to him. He'd be looking crazy. But you think of his foam runners that have an alien-like aesthetic, capturing the minimalist, futuristic look. It's a popular brand. It's popular. And I even think of these cyber trucks that the wealthy are driving. I even saw one on the road. I would say maybe a month or two ago. It's dark, it's completely steel, right? It looks like a space vehicle. It was kind of uncanny. It was a little eerie. And in architecture, we're also losing cultural signifiers. The push to have everything more uniform. We're seeing that architecture is becoming less unique to the region. I mean, now with some architecture, could you tell if you were in London versus LA or versus a part of New York if there were no weather signifiers or geographic signifiers? It's becoming more difficult to differentiate places. And actually, culture_crit on X describes vernacular architecture as using local materials and techniques, not adhering to academic or technical styles. And this is expressed in its environmental and historical context. And they made a really great thread talking about how we're moving more away from the vernacular architecture. And unfortunately, a lot of buildings look more industrialized, and we've also entered almost this glass age, again, taking away personality from buildings. And speaking of glass, the glass age, we got people adding glass to their porches like it's a store vestibule. So even with buildings, there's less artistic difference, there's less signifiers of culture and historical context because everything is so industrialized. And this, again, aids into the grayification of the world. So let's talk about embracing modernism. The world began embracing modernism, also born out of an increasingly industrialized world. We had more readily made materials and less craftsmanship, from furniture making to fashion making to graphic design. A lot of those skill sets have shifted to more of a technological medium versus adding the nuances of the actual artistic craft. Modernism, in the terms of objects, suggests utopia, progress, and machine-like perfection. And this is relevant when most buildings, homes, etc., are embracing monochromatic uniformity, more industrialized, and loss of textures, colors, and patterns. Diving into the home category, like we talked about, modernism embraces houses as utilities merely to be used. And we can look at Charles Edward Geronet, or Le Corbusier, one of the first modern architects who saw homes as machines for living in, making homes less of an artistic endeavor, but cookie cutter and uniform. And while aesthetics became secondary to a design's utility and, quote, functionality. And I can't help but notice that these design practices have bled into other mediums of art, as most overarching trends do. I personally am really interested in the logo design conversation. As someone who dabbles in graphic design myself, it has been studied that minimalist design patterns are being utilized with what we remember as classic logos. A lot of logos are slowly losing pictorial elements, color, curvy and quirky fonts, and fun pattern selections, right? A user was looking at the Petco logo saying, quote, corporate minimalism better not lay a finger on them, right? Expressing their love and the charm of the original pictorial logo. And when we talk about the change over time of logos becoming more flat, more stripped down, Paul Scholes defines the change as refinement culture, saying, quote, a general streamlining and removal of any unique characteristics. Refinement culture is one-dimensional and removes variety from the environment. It's optimized. And as these brands change their logos, the buildings that these brands host, and architectural standards for their establishments, they change. Look at how McDonald's used to look, right? Versus how it looks now. Burger King then, and Burger King now. And don't even get me started on Wendy's. Like, what is this? What happened to the sunroom? If you know, you know. If you were there, you were there. What happened to the sunroom? I want answers. You look at the modernization of many food chains, which is, quote, more of an upscale version that these companies are opting for, right? Brands that were colorful, that attracted children, that were always fun and lively, are starting to kind of scale back, make more of an upscale version, and the buildings are grayer, they're more square, they're more sharp, they're more uniform. And it's interesting because a user on X pointed out how Pizza Huts used to look and how there used to be like this warmth and comfort in restaurants like this. And less they exist. I personally I still like the vibe. That's why I like my Applebee's and my Chili's. And there's this sense of nostalgia, but a lot of these places ripping out carpets, placing cement floors, ripping out comfy booths for the utilitarian chair, and also stripping more color. Like at this point, y'all, we've turned into the pixies. We are the pixies. The world is turning into the pixies. What is for the future? Well, there's hope. Seemingly, Gen Z is starting to question and are reversing the minimalist status quo. Maybe not at a large, but I would say slowly but surely adding color to our spaces with, quote, clashing patterns, right? If you go on like your Instagram reels, you have creators who are really into interior design unofficially, and you see that they're using really fun patterns and putting colors together, and you can step into a space and say, hey, you know, I could tell who lives here, right? Because there's this sense of individuality. And the maximalist style is seen as, quote, one of Gen Z's many rebellions against the way of older generations. And maximalism is not a new concept. The term claims stake around the 16th century surrounding Europe. And the style reemerged in the Victorian era homes as a form of self expression and identity, which I think is coming back a bit, especially in interior design. And I've curated my feed to seeing more young folks decorate their spaces with fun furniture, patterns, and really unique pieces. And it's been inspiring me on how I want to decorate my spaces. I want my home to feel like me. I want my home to feel lived in. I want color expressed. I want my home spaces to have personality as much as everyone can do what they want. Um, I personally, as an artistic person, I like my lighting. I like to be surrounded by color, and it affects me. It affects my creativity. So I think it's fun to see people starting to talk about this and question this notion, and also seeing people my age kind of rebel against the minimalist grayification of absolutely everything. I'll leave you guys with this. This rejection of individuality in collective art and spaces rejects telling stories. Human nature tells us that we want to belong somewhere. And when everything looks the same, I do think that we lose a sense of cultural identity and an aspect of community slash pride in one's home, where they live, where they're from, right? Their tastes. And psychology and scientific studies have showed us that we feel more isolated, down, and depressed in environments with less life, less individuality, less color. Less human elements in art, I think, stifles us, our emotions, feelings, and our sense of community. So I really wanted to go over this graying phenomenon that's going on. And I want to know what you guys think about this. I know that there's many who do love the neutral aesthetic, but how do we feel about that when it's bleeding into many of our public spaces versus it just being like a personal style choice within homes and people's own unique styles? So I hope you guys enjoy this. Let's chat in the comments. Hit that subscribe button if you'd like to see more commentary content just like this video. Also, hit that link in my description to get 2 weeks free trial of Aura. You will not regret it. It's been so useful. Without further ado, I will see you guys though in my next video. Bye.